You know what? We don't want to see people fighting, but that passion from Palhinha is what the fans definitely want. Yeah, you don't want to see him injuring players. I think it was probably a yellow card on Palhinha with the tackle, but showing that character and that energy is what Spurs have been missing.
Not after 90 minutes.
No, but he cares.
He cares. He does.
And in that second half, he put it in. We said Spurs in that first half weren't good enough. In the second half,
he was great. Second half,
there was closing down. There was brave. There was passing forward. All the things we talked about that they didn't do in the first half. But the problem is they need to do it for longer in the game. Why is it taking them 45 minutes to come into the game? I don't know if it's confidence. Some of them players may be confidence players in terms of going forward. Yeah, they've got players offensively out. But you want to see that from the start because they believe in the manager. You won't give a performance like that in the second half if you didn't believe in
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think they're not playing for the manager, but you can't judge a team when they're 2-0 down. Because all players can play free when they're 2-0 down. Because what happens is the team that's 2-0 up defends a bit more, plays a bit more cautious, and allows you to have the ball. So you get on the ball and you can take risks because the crowd's already gone anyway in terms of supporting you. Then if you might get a goal, all of a sudden you might be okay. But the hardest thing to do under pressure in a big stadium when your home fans are disgruntled is get on the ball, take risks, play. First half was tepid. It was fearful.
But what was the reason for that? You've played, I asked the question before.
It's a lack of belief and confidence in themselves.
But you've been a player, so sometimes you don't want to take that risk. You don't want to do the extra pass. We did the stats about them not playing through the lines, defence breaking, passes and all that. At the moment, in the first half, was playing safe, wasn't
then they need better players, don't they?
Well, they've got players out.
And
they have. That's fair. We talked about that.
They've got about 10 first-team players out, or first-team squad members out at the moment through various reasons. A couple of them off at the Africa Cup of Nations as well. But in terms of the results that Spurs are getting, the performances they're putting in, they're worse at home than they are away, and that's not going to do anything to kind of calm the fans down. When most of the fans, the ones that are paying their money to come and watch them here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, aren't seeing any of the better results.
Yeah, one thing I will say is players do care. It might not look like that in terms of the performance. I've been in that situation where things have not been going well for me at Aston Villa, and you just won a game. Take the last game against Bournemouth. They played well in that game. OK, Semenyo scores a last-minute winner, and then it just knocks your confidence. And then you come onto the field actually thinking, can I do this? Do I believe enough in myself to play that pass, to score that goal? And that's why I give him a little bit of credit, because Dan's completely right. It's easy to play when you're 2-0 down, but then you've still got to show it as well that you can do it. So they're the positive signs I see from this Spurs side going forward.
The players were booed off at half-time and at full-time in this game. They've been unhappy for a while now. There are rumblings about the future of Thomas Frank, and there are a couple of big games coming up for them in the Premier League, where the expectation will be that Spurs should go and win against West Ham and against Burnley. But do they look difficult now, Danny?
Any game's difficult in the Premier League, any game, whether you're playing well or badly. Tottenham have the capabilities of beating both, of course. If they play like they did second half, got a hell of a chance. Can they perform in the Premier League under pressure, the start of a game? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think he should be under the pressure he is, Thomas Frank. I'm with you on that. He has got injuries, and also it's not always easy with a new group of players, especially when you've got absentees, to implement your tactical plan and find a system and a way of playing that suits. Because more recently, when they were losing games, he had to try and find a way to stop losing and be more pragmatic. Maybe at the end of the season, we'll have more of a fair judgment on him when he's got some players back and we can see an identity. That today was chalk and cheese from first half to second, and that's been a bit like their season.
But just lastly on that, I think you have to get the fans on side. You know, when you talk about Spurs, they play attacking, attractive football. Yes, you might not be getting results. I think the fans want to see a plan, and Dan's completely right. They tried to shut up shop a little bit in terms of not conceding goals, but now it's just the next bit that they need to do.
They're now managing with a squad that has 10 or 11 players unavailable to them today, trying to manage Champions League football, Premier League football, having not had that last season. So, having you had Europa League football last season. Is that an issue, do you think, for Thomas Frank? Because the reason I ask is because he's a man who's had many admirers in the past, certainly at his time as Brentford, and wasn't seen as a bad appointment by Tottenham at all, certainly from outside the club. So where do you think it's going wrong at this early stage?
Well, I think the style in trying to find one that he can stick to. Because sometimes as a manager, you have to change what you're doing tactically and stylistically because the results are dictating it. So if you're conceding a lot, right, I'm going to have to... you want to be a free-flowing, creative side, but stop the rot. Like, let's get some results, which he did. But the fans here have an expectation level that's been there for a long time now in terms of the style of football and stuff. So he's got to keep that in mind. Ultimately, at any football club, and especially here and any of the bigger ones, you've got to get the fans on board. And losing games here, like you mentioned earlier, is not going to help him do that. He's got great experience. He's a clever guy. He's got a lot of injuries. I think they just bite their lip a little bit and try and stick with him for a little while. And I think they'll see the benefits of that.
Agreed.
You know, there have been changes with Daniel Levy leaving the club. There have been changes in terms of, it looks as though Paratici may be on his way out of the club. It feels that there are changes all the way through. They have the injuries that we talked about. There is unrest amongst the fans. The Supporters Trust last night was saying that they're concerned about the club's lack of ambition, that these feel like deeper issues than what we're seeing on the pitch, almost as though that's the tip of the iceberg. Do you think that would be a fair defence of Thomas Frank's position? Yeah,
I think to a degree. Those things are always magnified, the off-the-field stuff, when the on-field stuff's going badly. Of course, we've seen that many times, the difference, but especially here. There does seem to be a new impetus from the hierarchy in some of the wording, what they've talked about since Daniel's gone. So the proof will be in the pudding this month if they're going to dip into the market and help him and try and push this club on. Ultimately, with the amount of injuries they've got and the option, he doesn't have many options, they are going to be a little bit up and down. And we talked about before giving him time. But the reality is, at the moment, you've got to be really honest about it. They should be doing better even with the absentees, because I can't see Tottenham's style from one week to the next. Even today, I saw a passive first half, nervous, and I saw a aggressive, high energy second half. I mean,
so
it's like that most weeks.
How does that happen? Because you know how Thomas Frank works, and we've seen
the
way that he got.
I don't. I saw his Brentford team evolve into a quite a pragmatic team, and then evolve into a really good footballing side who were on the front foot. A
lot of set pieces there, wasn't
there? A lot of set pieces, but at the moment,
Austin McPhee's with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he can't. Yeah, he can't nail down a formation or tactics with his team if he feels that he doesn't quite have or know which players are capable or not. Now, you could argue we're halfway through the season, so he should know by now. But it does take a bit of time to find out which, and a lot of them aren't fit, is better players. So he's kind of learning on the job. And he maybe doesn't fancy some of the players who he's been given. You know, let's get through January and see where we're at. And as I said, the end of the season, you might start seeing Spurs have a bit more of an identity.
Agreed.